The Spotlight, shining a light on podcasts and videos that have caught our attention.
Hi and welcome to The Spotlight. I'm Jen Spiker and today I'm highlighting a brand new podcast series that's been added to the Vision app. Sunburnt Souls is hosted by Ps Dave Quak, who speaks to a different guest each week. However, in this first episode of the podcast, Dave is being interviewed so we can get to know him better and understand what it's been like for him pastoring a local church while also receiving a diagnosis of bipolar. We'll pick up the conversation as Dave explains how his family have supported him over the last few years.
The Spotlight with Jen Spiker.
In that dark time when I was under my man robe, she really had to step up and carry a lot of the slack around the house, around the church. And, you know, with that, she didn't do it begrudgingly. Not once did she ever say anything to make me feel condemned or guilty. She was gracious, you know, she was really my pastor during those years. And it's interesting, as a pastor, you don't often have a pastor, right? You don't have, you know, I got good friends and mentors, but someone who can really dissect your soul and come in and pray for you. And so she really functioned in that role, and I'm really thankful for her. I think for the kids, having bipolar, I guess they've always grown up with me being me. So for them, it's how Dad is.
Yes.
You know, and so I suspect that their testimony when they're older, you always get scared of the kids' testimony. I think their testimony will be that God used Dad, and Dad loved us. Dad was generous with us. Like, oh, man, it doesn't take much for me to open my wallet to the kids. Like, and I don't know if that's going to come back to bite me when they've got a bad value of money or whatever. But, like, I'm generous with them and I love them and I want to hang out with them and I like them. And, you know, like, even, you know, my wife and daughter went on a road trip a couple of weeks ago. And so it was just me and my son. So we just spent a week on a reverse vegan diet. Basically, all we ate was animal products, you know, meat and cheese and eggs and bacon. And then it was like in the morning, we'd get up, have a man hug, have a chat, grunt at each other a couple of times. Okay, see you at lunch, you know, and do our thing. And, you know, and he loved that. You know, we gamed a little bit together and watched Car Masters and we hung out. So I think their testimony will be that Dad was fun, Dad loved God, Dad was there for us, but he was also a bit erratic. And sometimes he yelled at us when we probably didn't deserve it, you know, and sometimes he was irritable. I mean, they both love Jesus for themselves, so that's awesome. But I also think they'll grow up thinking, okay, Dad was epic, but he had some flaws, but we love him and we're glad he's in our life. And I think the last sentence is the big one, that they're glad I'm in their life. And I want that to be true. I see so many men who just lose that with their kids. You know, the kids are happy not to be in their life, especially as teenagers. You know, drop me off up the street so no one sees our embarrassing car, or just be quiet when we're in public, Dad, or, you know, all that stuff. So, yeah.
The kids are still happy to be seen with you.
They are. They're and I love them, hey. And it's really cool. Like, as pastors' kids, we've tried not to put too much pressure on them, like, to look a certain way or whatever. And our church is really cool. The people at church don't treat them any different to anyone else. They just really enjoy their time there. Yeah.
And have you brought the kids on the journey? Are you quite open with them about like being medicated, saying things like I'm in a manic or depressive state at the moment, so that they understand how to tiptoe around you a little bit?
They do. Yeah. And it's taken a bit of time. So, but that's a very good question, because at the start I was, you know, I guess because my process with medication started with the anxiety and depression medication and kind of grew from there, I was able to take them on the journey. And they naturally, they see me. You know, they'll see me at 6 o'clock taking the sodium valproate. They'll see me at dinner time. So they know I'm medicated, but I have taken them on the journey. But, okay, so my son's a legend, but he's 15. And you know that 15-year-olds love to pest. You know it, right? Like, you just be sitting there and all of a sudden there's a bucket on your head.
Yeah.
You know,
or no reason. Or a finger in your ear.
Yeah, or a finger in your ear, or like you have a drink and they'll put a cucumber in it. Like, they're 15. So, you know, and Josiah, he's the master of it. Like, he's next level. And I think he probably got that from his mother. No. I love pesting people too. But when I'm real manic, I have to sometimes just say to the kids, look, guys, I can't handle you poking me, pushing me, just give me a bit of a wide berth.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least you're saying that to them.
Yeah, and they're cool with it.
Yeah, and it's communication, though. It's just like with anything, like I know that with my husband, if I'm having a low day, sometimes I'll just be like, I'm just having a low day. And that's what I need to say. He knows that means that I'm not upset with him. If I was, I would say something, and I may not even be able to put my finger on why I'm having a low day. He just has a mutual understanding.
That's right.
But you have to communicate that, because otherwise you overreact and then you're hurting your family or your partner or whatever.
That's it. You did actually tell me a story the other day, Amelia, that you walked past and he gave you a little bit of a playful butt slap.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I overreacted.
He got a little bit in trouble for that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Because I was in a bad headspace and I hadn't told him yet.
Yeah, that's all right. But that's it, eh? And like you just said, communication, if we communicate this stuff, the people we love who understand get it.
Yeah.
This is going to be my interesting next couple of months, I think, Amelia, is that the church doesn't quite understand the extent of this. And so what I've been able to communicate with the family, I have to now start communicating with my faith community. Now, think about this as a manic pastor. Okay, imagine this for a morning. Okay, you get there at 7:30 to set up and a bunch of people are late. Right, imagine this, okay? And you're like, far out, we're going to be running late. And then you walk into the church and there's like cups left everywhere because whoever used the church through the week just left cups and crap everywhere. And so you're like straight away like agitated, because you're heightened, right? Like, freaking cups are everywhere, and then people come and maybe it goes all right for a little while and you make a few coffees for people. Then the service starts. And I'm up the front and I can hear the worship team playing or whatever, but I can also hear people walking in, laughing and talking and standing down the back, making heaps of noise and distracting everyone. Maybe they're not distracting everyone, but because I'm manic, I can hear them as if they're yelling in my ear. Okay. And they don't do it to be jerks. They don't do it because they're irreverent. They love Jesus. They don't know they're doing it. And they come in laughing and oh, wow, worship's on. Okay. And they go join in. Okay. Now, our church, I want it to be fun and casual. So I'm not ever going to yell out at them. And, it's not my style. But when I'm manic, it irritates me, right? And then I'll be preaching. And this is the funny thing is when you're manic, you can preach quite well because you've got unreserved energy. As long as you're hearing from God and not just saying things, which I have to be quite careful on. I make sure I do my prep, especially when I'm manic, to make sure I'm speaking from God, not from my mania. And there's where Jess's prophetic gift really helps to help sift that and to help keep me in line and to help make sure I'm hearing from God. Anyway, so I'll be preaching and like I said earlier, I'll hear some kid like playing with a toy. And there's a teddy there that makes no noise, but they pick up the fire engine, start... and then like the parent, I'll see the parent not look over at the kid and they're just sitting there chilling. I'm like, you want to go grab that kid or just let it distract the whole world? And then that's what I'll be thinking while I'm still preaching.
Yeah.
And then I'll see someone go out to the dunny and this is, how weird is this going to sound? But I'll know whether it's a number 1 or 2 because, because in my head, there's so much going on that I've almost timed how long they were in there and they're coming back. I'm like, hey, he did a poo. You know what I mean? And then it's just... you got to, and then like someone will nod off. All right. Or you look at someone's face and you think they're just not into this at all. And that's always a problem because when you're preaching, everybody's face looks different to what they're feeling usually. Like I used to have a senior pastor who looked angry when you were preaching well, but it was because he was listening really well.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, dude, he's hating this, And so this is, and then straight after church, noise, like that first 20 minutes after church, noise, everyone's in a small room talking loud, laughing, which is amazing unless you're manic, right? And so that'll happen. And then I'll have someone come up to me and talk to me, which is wonderful. I want to talk to people, but it'll be like, and then while they're talking, someone else comes and stands next to them waiting for me.
Yeah.
And I can see them out of my peripheral vision. So I'm like, not only am I getting spoken to here, I've got this person to talk to, and it'll happen maybe 3 or 4 times in a run. And nobody's doing it because they want to hurt me. They're just doing it because they love me. And I love them and we're connected. But I sometimes just want to get out of there. There's been times where I'm manic where I just like finish the service and then go out this sneaky door and get in my car and go home. No one notices. And if I told them why I was doing it, I'm sure they'd be fine with it. I think I'm just at that place where I've been living it. Now I have to be living it and sharing it.
Yes.
and explain people why I'm acting like I am. There'll be times where I'm in a prayer meeting where I'll just have to step outside. Instead of just pushing through now, I'll just step outside.
Yeah.
And come back, have a breath. And I would expect that anyone else in my position, I would give them the concessions to do that.
100%.
So they'll do that for me.
Yeah, definitely.
You asked me why I haven't shared yet. The third reason was that I haven't probably given people enough credit. I've got to start giving people more credit.
Yeah, because I think you'll be surprised at how people react. And it's even just thinking of different strategies. So, say, for example, of going, okay, well, after church, Dave always goes and sits in the little back room by himself, and one person goes in and the next person waits at the door, and then you do a swap over.
Well, yeah, that's right.
Just
managing
that's a silly example, but, just managing it so that you can give as much as, and hear from God as well. Because when you're speaking to someone in a church environment like that, they may be asking you like a really deep personal question, and you're just trying to focus on them without all the mess in the background.
That's
like
right.
How you meant to hear from God when your mind is so wild like
that's
that.
That's
So
right.
so it's actually setting up strategies to be able to enable you to do what you need to do.
Exactly. And okay, so say someone came with a wheelchair, rolled into church, and we didn't move a couple of chairs so they could roll into the congregation. Like, we'd be like, guys, you guys are being jerks.
Yes.
Help them out. It's exactly the same principle, except you can't see it. And I think that's where there's some deficits, I think, in the way we think about this. Yeah.
So what's going to be your strategy then?
Yeah, that's the question. Hopefully you got the answer. You got the answer?
Just be like, oh, hey, by the way, I got this podcast. Here you go. Listen to it during the week.
Yeah, listen to this.
That's it. Full stop.
Yeah, that's right. Look, the strategy is to really start normalizing everything in my life and sharing it.
Yep.
Getting guests on. I want to hear from people who have lived experience like yourself and others. I want to interview professionals. I want to talk to people who understand mental health, who are pastors, who are even theologians or psychiatrists or whoever I can get to have the conversation about faith and spirituality. Faith, like knowing Jesus is the best. Like knowing him intimately and having a personal relationship with him and it not being about what you do or don't do, but about who you are in Christ. And I want people to understand that they can know Christ, that they can have intimacy with him and also have things going on upstairs that aren't ideal and that God isn't punishing them and that it's not a result of their, sin or his. And I'd love to dispel some myths. I'd love to be an encouragement to people. I'd like to have fun. I know that sounds strange, but sometimes like whenever you talk about mental health and mental illness, it's like everyone just like puckers up. It's like, there's no room for jovialness. And now, look, I'm not saying this because I want to minimize the importance of chatting about mental illness, but sometimes the only way I can handle my life is to laugh about it and to be irreverent and to point out the stupidity and the fallacy and the craziness of it all, and so I want to open that forum. I want to be able to chat to people who are real and raw and amazing and crazy and messed up and brilliant.
Because we all are, really.
That's exactly right.
On the Spotlight, we've been listening to more of Dave Quak's story of being a pastor with bipolar and how this has led to him launching a new podcast exploring the intersection of faith and mental health. You can listen to this full interview by tapping the podcast tab and searching for Sunburnt Souls. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes when they're added each week. If you have a favourite podcast or video series that you'd like to hear featured on the Spotlight, click Contact Us at vision.org.au and share the link. My name is Jen Spiker. Join me next time as I share another podcast or video that deserves highlighting.
For more great podcasts and videos like the one featured today, check out vision.org.au or the free Vision app.